But when we're, whatever key we're in, it doesn't even matter. I'm just going to use numbers in this instance rather than even playing anything. You know that when we have a 1 chord in a scale, the notes in that 1 chord are 1, 3, 5, right? And so on. The 2 chord is a 2, 4, 6, right? And so on. That's how everything is stacked up. So that's great to know, because when you're playing, if I have, so let's get into A minor, just because like that's we're used to that. So A minor, my 1, my 3, or my flat 3. I'm just kind of like using the numbers without saying minors or flats, and then my 5. And those are great because anytime you hit those, anywhere in that scale, 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, those notes are always going to work. But that's how the harmonies are built up as well. So what I mean by that is we can stack the harmonies in those lines, and this is exactly what Metallica did in that song, is we could stack them up in thirds. So something really easy is if we just take flat 3, 2 to a 1. If we take that line and go up a third, right? So what would that be actually? Yeah, you got it. Yeah, that's exactly Mary Had a Little Lamb. Yeah. Right? So if you're gonna like play a metal Mary Had a Little Lamb, you could have like this kind of thing underneath it. But now this is what you have, and there's something really cool happening here, where you have a C and an E, a B and a D, and then an A and a C. But you don't always need to think of it that way. You could think of, all right, well, I'm playing a 3 and a 5, or a flat 3 and a 5, a 2 and a 4, right, and a 1 and a flat 3. And because those are a third apart, they'll work over each other, right? So does that concept make sense? If you're gonna, that's like they're always a third away. Riffs have to be like relatively stable and hold down the fort, so to speak. If we're gonna be talking about any melody that you play, right, and the cool motifs that we're kind of coming up with in like A minor. Right? That's okay, cool. That works. You know what I mean? And even like, some of the fast runs. Now, that's great for a solo, and that's great for your guitar 2 solo. You know what I mean? Doing like kind of handing it off when you guys want to meet, or even if it's one guitar and you're kind of like recording, and it comes time to get that harmony. You want to make sure that first melody is super stable and at least somewhat interesting to harmonize with, right? So to stabilize a little bit more, I wouldn't necessarily jump in, if we're doing and we're going, we're kind of like shredding through a little bit and then doing a little. When it's like, all right, right now we're gonna go in for this harmonized riff. You can do something that's a little bit more. Right, it's just got a little bit more stability to it. Or another really great way to squeeze into a 2-part harmony is if you guys did something that was separate from a motif. And what I mean by that is if you had like, and then somebody was doing the third above that, and then you like moved up another third or another second, like everyone kind of moved up together. That's another way to break into a really cool harmony, But also, Rye, what you can do is you could even do like, if it's a sweep or not, just an arpeggio, like an A minor 7 arpeggio, and then have one person start it, on the root note, and the other person start it on the third, or the other person start it on the 5th. And that's also going to line up. So those are 3 very different ways to approach going from an improvised or even a written, metal guitar solo into, a double harmony, and then coming back out. Because personally, I love when bands do that. Like I love when Megadeth does that. So that like Dave Mustaine's got a solo, the other dude, depending on who's playing, is riffing away, and then they sort of like meet, and it's like, yeah, it could be that. Or faster. However you guys wanted to do it, and climbing together, yeah, or some sort of an arpeggiated riff that's harmonized. You're just taking the same notes. There's one guy you could just make it one guy's one note ahead of you. So if you have this, or if I'm going to do it in A, take that same exact arpeggio, just someone starts one note ahead of you in that arpeggio, or 2 notes ahead of you in that arpeggio. These are all the ideas that you can mess around with, and everything that is at least a third away is going to work. The only one major thing to watch out for is if you guys are doing something slow and melodic that you want to fit over a chord change. If I have this A minor, if I do flat 3 to 2 to 1, and then harmonize it with a 5, 4, flat 3, that works perfectly because I'm ending on that A minor. But I wouldn't do A, flat 7, flat 6. I might want to skip that flat 6 and go a little further down, because now that note's in the chord, right? And that's the only time you really need to be careful of only being a third away in a harmony is, all right, but are my ending notes, if I want to end on a chord tone with the melody, I want to make sure that I end on a chord tone in that harmony, But other than that, there's so many ways to explore it. So that was a lot. What do you got? Questions? Like if you just start easy. Like this is the best thing is if we have, if I have this line, flat 3, 2, 1, 5. What would you play? Just pick a harmony. Pick a harmony that you think would sound cool with that. Right? It's stable. There you go. Or you could now, but check this out, because this is where it gets interesting. If I'm doing this and I'm ending, that 5 is the 5 of this chord. So even though you were doing, that works, but what if I switched that note and the 5 work, but it's the 5 and the 2, which are 2 notes from the 5 chord. So check this out. If I had something like this, and then my harmony was, or my melody, I'm sorry, and then to play over that, right? But if I switched, and I went to that 5 chord, this works, right? But now we might not want to land on that A for that 5 chord. We might want to land on, now that note changes because the chord under it changes. So even though we're always saying like a 1, 3, or 5, a 2, 4, and a 6, and this can go in other reverse orders too, like you want to make sure that you're also catering to the chord progression under it. So that's why this, okay, cool, I'm ending on a 5. Okay, awesome, dude, that works, right? So that would be like, right, even though my guitar is awful intonation, but okay, so now that works. That's my 1 chord, 5 and 1. But if I did, that's the same melody with a different harmony because I'm ending on the 5. Because my 5 is a 5, a 7, and a 2. Does that stacking sort of make sense of how to find your harmonies? So you can always think about it in thirds, and it's always going to sound okay. If you did that and you went to the 5 chord, it's not going to sound bad. it's just not going to sound as great as being like, wait a minute, if I'm ending on my 5 chord, I want that phrase to end on 2 tones of that 5 chord. You know, that's why another wild thing to do that we sort of see a lot is like if you take and you are to do your arpeggio, right? And you have your A minor arpeggio to here, and then you're going to switch to your E minor, and then you do that same exact thing, but you're starting 1 note higher. You're starting now on this note to harmonize it, and then you're starting there for your E minor. Now you don't just have an arpeggiated line that goes up and down that's harmonized. It changes with the chord, and both the melody and the harmony of that arpeggio change with the chord, right? So you can always think of it like, nah, man, I'm just going to worry about A minor. I'm not going to worry about my changes. That sounds cool too. That's like, you know what? There's a lot of blues rock solos that are not even talking about harmonizing, that are just, you know, all right, I have an A minor, a G, and an F, but they might still just riff over it like it's only A minor, you know? So you have those 2 options, you know? You can figure out how musically in depth you really want to get when you're building like melody. You know, adamant enough about keeping this, which is such a perfect form of D minor. You've now got 5, 1, flat 3 in D minor. If we want to utilize this open string, we do the same thing, but it's gonna sound like this. D, right? You're gonna probably want to get up to, so if we have, I would go, so now we have 1, flat 3, 5, right? And that will harmonize with what you're doing. And you guys are both utilizing open strings. So it's going to sound like this. Obviously, I can't get that hammer on pull-off speed. Now, so you're just doing a D minor up. 1 starting on the 5, 1 starting on the 1. Just going straight up and back. And then, that's a pinky exercise in itself. So now when you take this, 0, 5, 8, 5, that's your D minor, 5, 1, flat 3, 1, and you take this down to 4 and 7, now you switch the chord to an A major. Or you can utilize that flat 7 and make it an A7. Right? Now you have 1 major third 5. But we're going to have to find out where else we can do that, because we can't utilize that D open string. So now if you have a 1, 3, 5, we're going to have to figure out, all right, we got to start on a 3, which is a C sharp, or the 5, and then build it up from there. So one thing is doing 1, 3, 5, 3, 1, 3, 5, 3, and something else is doing like 3, 5, 1, 5, 3, 5, 1, 5, and then on top of that, they'll stack, and it'll sound, let's see, if we just making sure you're stacking it the right way. Those quick runs of arpeggios are going to sound that lineup, and now you've got 9, 12, right? So you have no idea how many people would go for an F sharp minor, because that 12, that A, is the open. So you're doing A, F sharp, A, F sharp. Most people would say like, oh, well, that's my minor third. All right, cool. So I'm just going to do F sharp minor. So let me figure out how to harmonize this. The fact that you're taking that minor third and saying like, nah, I don't think so. What I'm going to do instead of an F sharp minor, I'm going to make it a D major. It's perfect, especially since we already played off of a D minor. Now we're just modulating to D major. So in a D major, in an F sharp minor, we would have minor third 1, minor third 1, minor third 1, minor third 1. In this case, we don't get to the 1. So now we have 5, 5-3, 5-3, 5-3, 5-3. So our harmony is wide open with how we want to take that. You know what I mean? What you could do is figuring out some of this harmony writing, especially when you're talking about like some of those double metal soloists, take some in-depth writing. What might be cool about this is even though it's going like up in pitch, down in pitch, down, up, down, down, you might want to switch that because you've got a double note here and we haven't hit the 1 in the D chord yet. So there's so many things that you could do. You could keep going upwards with one of them while the other one is doing, just telling you that you have those options because we're not playing the root note in that arpeggio, and we have a double 5. That 5 is happening 2 times. Now, the next one is really tricky.